Good afternoon. Welcome to At Home Tactical Defense. This is Toby. Today I wanted to talk about a leaking Umarex Elite Force 1911 magazine. So the valve in these things will sometimes start leaking. I found when I get them brand new, this little spanner wrench tool, they're about $8 on Amazon. It's got one of them that works real well, fits the valve on the Elite Force magazines. And sometimes they'll leak right when you get them, and if you just give that a snug, it tightens them up, works good. Sometimes you can snug that valve up and they'll quit leaking. If it doesn't, and I've got one here that's been leaking a little bit, so we take our spanner wrench, we pop that valve loose, and again, very simple little tool. 1911 valve wrench. You can find them on Amazon. They make a couple different kinds. So when you pull out that valve, it's going to look like this, okay? This piece right here seats into an O-ring that is this size. This is an 8x6x1 fluorine silicone O-ring. And the fluorine silicone, they're tougher and they're able to handle chemicals better than just the pure silicone, supposedly. They're a little higher durometer, they're a little denser. So what I do then is I just take the new O-ring when one of these valves is leaking. So far, the only thing I've found leaking is this little O-ring. And I put that O-ring on the top like this, and I push it over the edge, get it to where it'll sit on there, just like that. See that? Okay? So the O-ring is sitting there, and what this is going to do, it's going to seat it. I don't know if you can see in there, probably not. In the very bottom in there, there is an O-ring that sits into a groove. And the way I seat that in is I put it on here first. I use a little bit of gun oil, just one drop. That adds a little oil. It'll spread around on that O-ring, make sure it goes in nice. And then the old O-ring has to come out of there. And you can use a little hook or pretty much anything will pop that out. Old O-ring there, okay? Old O-ring. And then I take the new valve and very carefully, so that stays on there, I slide it up in very carefully, get it to where it turns just a little bit and starts to seat. And then I use my spanner wrench to seat that in very carefully, okay? And as I get that in there, I'll kind of go back and forth just a little bit with it as I'm seating it. I don't just run it in all the way straight. I go in, and then about half of what I go in, I just come back a little bit. And that way it takes that O-ring and it works it into place. This has worked for me every time so far. And then we just snug that into place. It's ready to go. That has fixed every leaking magazine I've had. These are the silicone, they're fluorine silicone. You can buy them off Amazon or pretty much anywhere. 8mm x6x1. All right, new cartridge goes in. I always throw a drop of oil on top of them just to make it seat in nice. Load it in. Oops. Tap the new cartridge. No leaks. We're back to a good magazine. And so far, guys, that's the only thing I found on these valves that leak. I would think eventually the seat would start leaking on them. That's moving, but for the most part, I found it's just that O-ring. If you have one that's leaking, first try to tighten that valve. If you own one of these guns, get a spanner wrench, and that should do it for you. Talk to you again soon.